what is it that I'm going to teach them? And finally, either Friday night or Saturday, he told me going forward. For those of you who went to Phoenix last weekend or a couple weeks ago, Anthony Romo was talking about it a little bit too, about how we got to go forward, and that we should, that instead of holding our like swords, we should go and do something about it. So that kind of sparked it a little bit, and so I'll just go into it. You guys can stay seated. I'm going to be reading from 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 3. And it says, "Then you shall go on forward from there and come to the terebinth tree of Tabor. There 3 men going up to God at Bethel will meet you, one carrying 3 young goats, another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a skin of wine. And they will greet you and give you 2 loaves of bread, which you shall receive from their hands. After that you shall come to the hill of God, where the Philistine garrison is. And it will happen when you have come there to the city that you will meet a group of prophets coming down from the high place with a stringed instrument, a tambourine, a flute, and a harp before them, and they will be prophesying. Then the Spirit of the Lord will come upon you, and you will prophesy with them and be turned into another man." And what I got out of reading 1 Samuel 10-6, it's moving forward, but at the end when it says you will become a new man, I believe that when we move forward in God, we do change. And if some of you guys remember in October when I preaching about going through the fire, we also change. And so I guess this is kind of a related teaching on the same subject, basically, that no matter what we do in God, we're always going to be changing from one place to another. And I looked up what forward meant on my iPod. It's pretty cool, little nifty. But it says to go toward, or to what is in front, in a view, directed toward the front, advance, hold, progressing. Every time we move forward, we're advancing somewhere. Whether it's just driving down the street, you're going somewhere, you're moving forward in your car. Whether we're growing in God, we're reading the Word, we're praying, we're growing, we're trying to go forward into the direction that God's trying to put us in. And what really stood out to me was Israel Houghton's song, "Moving Forward." And just this whole weekend, I was playing this just over and over and over and over again. My family probably got sick of it. But I just, for some reason, that song talks about how I'm not going back, I'm moving ahead. And sometimes that's basically what we do. We feel stuck and that we can't move, and we feel like we're moving forward, but we're just going in circles around everywhere. And pretty soon we say, wait a minute, I remember that. Wait, I've been here before. You're not going anywhere. You could be like on a treadmill, you're running and you're not going anywhere. It seems kind of boring. But when we're not moving spiritually and we keep going in circles, we keep backsliding and we come back and we keep backsliding, pretty soon we get into this comfort zone where, oh, there's still time. I could do this and I could do that and I'll just come back because I've done it for so long and it just feels comfortable to me. And I was watching this thing on YouTube. It's called Game Line, and it's a show that talks about games and the different types of games throughout our country. And there was this one that probably goes into moving forward and away from it, getting out of your comfort zone. There's this cricket game in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and one of the guys that that had been interviewed about it was talking about how, you know what, I went to prison and when I came out, I tried to change and I tried to go forward in my life. But for some reason, when I came back from the mission that he had done, because of his religion, he was a Mormon. And so after he came back from the 2-year mission that he had done with his church, he was still living in the same neighborhood where he had grown up gangbanging. And I believe that that's one of the reasons why he couldn't get away from it. He wanted to stay there, and because it was comfortable for him. And moving sometimes is pretty hard, whether we're moving houses or moving schools, because we're leaving everything behind, everything that feels comfortable with us. And so he was just talking about how one of the rival gangs came and shot up his house, and he got really mad, and he looked back at his past and said it was so much easier just to go out and kill the other rival gang members before I died. So he ended up going to one of the houses, and he threw in a couple of gallons of gasoline in the house, and he set it on fire. And apparently, when they left, he thought he had heard a baby cry within the house that was burning. And so he was arrested for it again, and again he was sent to prison. And he just felt like this guilt, that what if feeling. What if there was a baby in there? What if I had done something bad, even though he wasn't trying to use it? It's just that the comfort zone he's in was suddenly changed because of that what if. And sometimes God tells us that we have to move on, and we can't be stuck going around in circles in the same place and within the same area, the familiar part of it. And I know some of us think that we're not going anywhere as a church because of certain things and stuff, but I see that as a good thing, because sometimes we as church just end up saying this is our comfort zone, and this is how we like it. We like praising God, we like doing praise breaks and stuff, and we really don't change it up a whole lot. But sometimes God says, I'm sorry, we can't have it that way. I'm going to have to do something about it. And then he steps in and intervenes and starts moving people around until finally he says, all right, let's see if this works. And so far, I've seen it happening a lot among our youth. Like Brother Jonathan said, some of us come on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and even on our Wednesdays class, we feel the power of God among us, and that gives us a driving force to go forward, to go deeper into God and learn His Word, and for chances like this, just to be up here preaching and delivering the message that God has placed in our hearts. And the gangbanger, he was reflecting upon his past, and sometimes reflecting upon our past can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing. What makes it a good thing is that we can learn from our mistakes, and we can say, oh wait, I've been there before. I know what to do different this time, and we end up making a better change. Not only for ourselves, but for the people around us. And the gangbanger, after the second time he came out of prison, he said, all right, he's actually trying to change his life around. He said he has a job now as a car dealership up in Salt Lake. So he was trying to get out of that comfort zone and find a thing that's working for him, where he can go forward in his life. And I was trying to look up something to talk about forward, and I couldn't really find anything until last night. I started running into a bunch of stuff, and something that caught my eye about the gangbanger is that there's another person in the Bible that kind of does the same thing, except her consequence, she never got a second chance. And that's Lot's wife. In Genesis 19:26, it talks about how she looked back and she was turned into a pillar of salt automatically. And I think that's where the bad part not moving forward in where our comfort zone is. If you read the story about Sodom and Gomorrah, it talks about how God told them not to go back and to escape from there and try not to have any relationships with them. But his wife was so used to the fact that I could do anything in Sodom and Gomorrah and not pay for it at all, that her heart wasn't fully going forward. Instead, it was staying stuck in that rotation of just coming back within that comfort zone. So when they were leaving, she ended up looking back and turning into a pillar of salt. And that part just really caught my eye, because when we disobey God, that's when something bad happens. All the time.
Hallelujah.
But like she couldn't move forward because she had that longing inside her heart and that memory inside her mind. And that's when it becomes a bad thing, when you start reflecting and say, okay, this is where I want to go, but yet I'm not ready, and I just want to stay 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And God says, no, you can't do that. You're either all for me or all against me. So it doesn't really matter as long as if we can get away from that mentality where we can say, all right, God, I'm going to follow you this way, but my left foot is trying to go backwards. It's kind of hard because you can't go forward and back. You're either going forward or you're going back. Yeah, so, I mean, that's really hard. And going forward, not only is it good within the church, but also outside the church. Because, I mean, if you look at the world around us, I don't know how many of you guys saw the Super Bowl commercial with that new car and everybody's on the typewriters, and one guy's carrying a big old record player and has it plugged in, and yeah, a big old cell phone.